As a parent, managing child relationships can be difficult. Do you be that friend or are you their parent? Where do you draw the line? How do you guide them? How do you do that in a way that you balance time for yourself as well? How do you find that balance between work, parenting, and your own needs?
Welcome to Share.care, an all-inclusive community sharing experience, strength, and hope to create strong, healthy, and inspiring relationships. Share.care communities work toward every individual feeling safe, valued, and heard, free from the threat of danger, pain, or harm. Each episode, founder Damian Andrews explores the principles underpinning Share.care and invites expert special guests to share their knowledge so you can easily reap the benefits so many others experience. You hold the choice to create your future. Let it be with strong, healthy, and inspiring relationships.
Hello and welcome to a Pondering Life episode of the Share.care podcast. Our belief is that global peace starts at home. Feeling safe, valued, and heard gives you a foundation to confidently step out and make the world a happier and safer place for everyone. Because in today's world, it's in your own selfish best interest to help others. And today it's my great pleasure to be chatting with Yola Bastos as we talk about parenting and finding balance in your life. Hello, lovely Yola. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
You've just been
And
enjoying
good evening.
It's evening for you, yes. You've just been
Yes.
enjoying in the pre-show we were talking about, and then you were just enjoying dinner with your daughter.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I
Interrupted
was
you.
having between washing clothes and watching a series that I'm watching lately. She said, "Oh, you want a burger?" So we decided to cook burgers and cooking dogs' food as well. So
Oh,
a lot of stuff happening at the
what
same
dog
time.
do you have? Or dogs?
One dog. Don't tell me dogs. I wish I have 5, 10 dogs, but the house. This is a flat. It's not a house. Otherwise, definitely I would have more. But my dog is mixed race, Shar-Pei and German Shepherd.
Oh, I grew up with German Shepherds. We had them. My granddad had them, and my dad had them. I haven't continued the lineage. I don't.
Mm,
I have lizards. They're quiet. I can leave them. I can go away and don't have to feed them for a week because they're pretty self-sufficient. And I don't like dogs licking me.
Really? Oh, they lick you because they love you.
I know it's a big sign of affection. And everyone around here, down here at the beach house, has dogs, and they're always walking past because I have a laneway that goes down the side of the house, and always walking
Yeah.
the dogs and saying g'day and that kind of thing. And yeah,
And I
I,
used
I
to,
even
I would love to have like 5 dogs, but they need to be free. I'm not gonna walk them. They're gonna have a green, something like they can go and come back. Like I want to walk them 5 big dogs because I like big dogs, and this is a beast. It's just it's too big
yeah,
to be indoors like most of the time. But bless him, he's
yeah.
getting used to.
German Shepherds are
Well,
cool though. They're very lovely dogs.
they are, but the mix is crazy. When they are only one breed, I think it's fine. But when they mixed, they become crazy.
Yeah,
Because Shar-Pei is very stubborn,
yeah,
and German is very like observing everything and tracing, and very bodyguard dog. You
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So when he's not enjoying himself or he wants something, he will be crazy.
Yeah.
He will. He never give up. Never. And he my dog is not swearing. But he's arguing with you.
Yeah.
You don't do what he wants. But God
Yeah.
bless him.
Oh, that's good.
God bless us.
Well, it's good that you had that lovely time, with your daughter as well. and having those balances, because that's what we're talking about as well. We're talking about the importance of self-care for single parents and how to maintain a healthy work life and family life balance. Because you've
Mm-hmm.
had to do that for most of your daughter's life, isn't it? Because you were sole parent the pretty much the entire time. Is that right?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
understand that.
Yes.
And I mean, I know from my perspective of being a single parent as well that you know it adds when you've got to do it all yourself. Isn't it? There's a few you mentioned washing and that before. There's all that because similar sort of thing. Had to do the washing and get school organized and uniforms and organize the books, as in the
Yeah.
school books. Get all that planning homework to manage all that. Find it stressful at
Yes.
times.
Yes. And actually, you just you asked me if it was stressful.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Sorry.
did you find it stressful at times?
Mm, Some, I think I started to get more stressed when she became an adult than
Mm,
before. But I actually, this week I was talking with another parent,
mm,
and this mom,
mm,
she was quite, how can I explain? She's that kind of mom that she thinks she's the best friend. I don't know about yourself, but
mm,
uh, the best friend of hers is a son. For son, yes, we can be really good friends with our kids, right?
mm.
But there is boundaries.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I'm saying that is, it's because she don't have that boundaries.
Mm,
And I always have a really cool, I'm very cool, very nice mom, parent, like mother.
mm,
And I mentioned to her, you know what? You still got a husband or a partner on your side. I've done all this by myself all my life. I had to
mm,
decide. I had to perform mother, and seconds after, I need to perform father.
mm.
Uh, you understand? Because normally the father will talk differently
Yeah.
or react differently to something like, "Oh, mom, I want some trainers," and the father will probably gonna say, "Some trainers, you have five pairs or something." And the mom, "Oh, but don't worry, yeah, he just wants this," and you're gonna argue. I think it's like that, right? Because men sees the things differently,
Mm,
and I had to do this job, like
yeah.
a double up job. And I said to her, "You can be your friend, you can be a friend for your son, but
Mm,
don't think being a best friend, or saying to yourself being a friend, you don't have boundaries, because
mm,
because she's having some trouble, but it's because the boundaries that she didn't implement." And he knows exactly how to how to exceed the
mm.
limits. Like, he knows exactly, the boy knows when to play around, and she always lose. He
Yeah.
always win. That makes sense. And that
Completely.
is,
Yeah, and from my perspective, I mean, I never viewed myself and still don't view myself as my son's friend. He has friends. I'm his dad. That's my job, is to be his dad. And that doesn't mean we don't have friendly conversations and things like that, but I'm always his dad. And same token doesn't mean that I don't listen to him as well. It's my job is to help him go out into the world and find his place. So I don't tell him what he should be doing. I ask. It's like how and going back to schooling, for example, I noticed early on in early primary school, there was I'm not sure what it was that triggered me to know that I observed this, but that it stood out for me. But he there was something about the way he approached school, and I was like, does he really understand why he's going to school? And so I asked him. I think he was in grade 3 at the time. I said, "Do you know why you're going to
mhm.
school?" He goes, "No." Um, and that's good information. So explained to him. I said, "Well, you see what I do. The life we live. we going on these travels and holidays and all this kind of stuff, and you're getting all these toys and that kind of thing. The reason you can do that is I'm earning money. And the reason I can earn money is because I have an education that enables me to solve other people's problems. And by doing that, I get paid money. And the reason I'm able to do that is because I've got education. So the whole point of you going to school is you get that education. You can then learn how to help people solve their problems. That in the
Mm.
workplace, and then from there you earn the money, and then you can do the things you want to do. And I noticed his approach to school changed from that point. And then as we're progressing, as he got a bit older, because he was too young to talk about grades and things, what are you going to do with the rest of your life, that kind of stuff then. But as he got older, and I said to him, I said, also too, there were, for a couple of reasons well outside of his control, he was behind academically. He wasn't a slow learner or anything like that, but just the nature of what was happening in our personal life affected his. Because a lot of times with kids, they'll do some basic reading and things like that before they start school. They've got a foundation there. He missed that foundation. Oh, that's my view. His mum might have a different story, but anyway, um, so he was in grade 4. He was at grade 3 level, and my focus was, okay, we're gonna work through it and get this up, because I always believed he had that ability, just missed that foundation. So we worked through that, and he was getting support classes at school. He went to a very, or does go to, he's still at school, goes to a very good school. And they gave him a lot of support, as well as they did everyone in those circumstances. And he was attending the support classes, and we talked about that. And he said, "I don't want to do them anymore." I said, "Well, to not do them, this is what you need to do." And so that was his choice. So then he took those. I mean, I gave him guidance and helped him when he needed it, but he did most of the work because he didn't want to do those support classes anymore. And then he stopped doing I can't remember which order it was now. He stopped doing the English, and then he stopped doing the maths, or might have been the other way around. But he finished, didn't need one anymore. And then we talked about it and said, well, what do you want to do as far as grades? What grade do you want to do? Do you want to get? And he picked a grade that was high, but it wasn't the highest. And so I didn't say anything as much. I'm going to prefer to be higher. But anyway, so it's your life, your choice. You make the decisions. You live with the consequences. That was the attitude that I had. It's my job to give you the ability to make your own decisions. And that was his decision, and he did that. And so he went from having, from being behind to having low marks at the level that he needed to be, and progressively. And then he got to the point where, and so rather than telling him you should be doing your homework, whenever I saw him doing homework or that kind of thing, if I saw him not doing homework, I asked him, how are you going on your goal to get the grade that you want? He goes, oh, yeah, I probably should do some study. And that became a habit where he then just did the study. And I explained to him too, because as you know, I've got a time management program, which really is about, maximizing the effort that you use. It's not really time management. It's I call it ROE, return on effort. And because I think I'm, as much as I'm a busy person, I think I'm a lazy person, in the sense of I don't want to be doing things that are, repetitive, things that I can avoid. I want to get there as fast as I can. Sometimes there's areas in personal life that I don't want to get there as quickly. You want to take time, but other than that,
Yeah.
but a lot of goals I want to get there really quickly, and so he took that on board. I think because they learn from what you do, and he sees how I operate. And so he worked out, and we explained to him and said, if you do what you study in school, if you do come home, just go through what you've studied, that'll sink in better in your mind. Then your revision for exams will be much easier because you've already got that in. Well, he started doing that, and then he worked out on his own accord, if he did the revision at school, so he finished the class, then did the
He has
revision
more
at
time.
school in free periods or wherever he had. When he could come home, he could go straight to his video games.
Yeah. Start to work
um,
harder.
the thing was that the result that he set he blew past that and now gets A's and A pluses. Um, you know,
Wow, well done.
so it was, and I'm not, yeah, I've never yelled at him anyway, but I'm not yelling at him or badgering him to do homework or anything like that. I do look at it sometimes and I go, you're spending so much time playing video games, but then I'm thinking, well, you're getting the results. How am I to see if you're doing this? He's about to get his black belt in his karate, and he's done all that himself. I haven't pushed him to do it. Well, I have pushed him to do it, but I haven't, you know, nailed him
Obligate
on doing
or
it.
yeah.
And I think too, the big difference that worked from my end was I always focused on what he did do and praised that, as opposed to lecturing him and saying, why haven't you done this, and focusing on stuff they didn't do. And we know that positive
Cool.
reinforcement works much better as a motivational tool than the other way around. Because if you're motivating with the stick, as soon as you take the stick away, people are not going to do it. But if you're motivating, people are doing it because they feel a sense of self-worth in what they're doing, sense of pride in what they're doing. And we chase that dopamine hit too. You tell someone they're feeling, you've done a great job, you get a dopamine hit in your body, you feel it. And
That's really good way of saying, yeah, good.
yeah, so that was my experience with that. There was a process to get there, and there was a lot of I had to do it my way, and ignore the other party that was involved in his creation, shall we say, and whatever that was happening there. But in my care, I just did it this way. I didn't worry about what was happening elsewhere. So this is this is how I'm going to approach it, and it's worked really well. So he's a very, very well-rounded young boy, as well. I think so, and a lot of other people mentioned as well. But he
When I
likes
grow up, I want to be like you. Don't think I'm that good. Oh, that's good.
But it was, I
Oh,
mean, it's again, I mean, the challenge in that period, and that's why I wanted to ask you about because we're, about our own, as a parent, our own self-care during that period. Because I wonder about that, because there's such a busy period. You're so busy. You really don't have time to stop. And I remember listening to Wayne Dyer talk, and we said when he was running his practice from his home, when he was younger, he'd have these women come up. He was primarily dealing with women, and he'd have these women come up and they'd drive up in their Porsches and they have the Gucci bags, as he described it, and they'd talk about all the stress in their life and things like that. And he had a neighbor. The neighbor, I can't remember how many children, something like 12 children. Ridiculous amount of children she had.
wow.
And because he's dealing with these women very well off, having mental breakdowns, those kind of things. And so he
Mm-hmm.
asked his neighbor one day, and this is what the story that he's relaying. He goes, he goes, look, I look at what you're doing, and you've got these 12 kids. You're constantly running around, constantly. He goes, how is it that you've never had a mental breakdown? And she thought about it. She goes, well, I just don't have time. I said, if I could get some of these
Right.
kids out of the house, maybe I'd have time to have a mental breakdown. And I was
That's
just
right.
wondering
I
about
totally.
that when I look at my experience as a single parent. Um,
That's exactly what happened to me.
yeah,
I
you don't have
don't have
time,
time.
because that's what I was saying. Like because that's what I asked you at the start. Was it were you stressed out? And it was. I I honestly, yeah, I was, there was worry about earning money, that kind of thing, because that was a difficult period. From my perspective, when I became a single parent, I there's things I did that put myself in a difficult financial situation, and that was a bit of a concern. But the money always seemed to come, and so that was but as a parent and finding that balance, I always seem to have time. drop my son off to school, I mean, sometimes my mum would come and help, and she would, come and stay, bring my grandmother up, it was fantastic in the way that worked, because my son got to spend time with his great grandmother that he otherwise wouldn't have
Yeah.
had, and had that. And he probably doesn't appreciate it yet, but I'm sure as he gets older, he will have those memories, and it was something. How many people get to experience time, a lot of time, with your great grandmother staying over with you regularly, and having that time together. Um, but I was always able to manage, picking him up from school. It said it wasn't every day, but during the week I would always drop him off or pick him up sometimes, and there'd be times that we'd all walk together. It would be because we lived right near the school, so we'd be myself, my son, my mum, and my grandmother all walking to school together,
Wow.
which was really lovely. And sometimes when I had to start early, I mean, my mum took my son, um, but then we get home, and my mum liked coming too. It's funny when you talk about being busy, because she'd come and stay with us, and then I'd come home from work and I'd cook dinner for her and my grandmother.
Wow.
So that they loved that. It was I just it was just what I did. It was and it was fun. I mean, for me, you know, again, being that efficiency nut, I was like,
And we
I knock this out really quickly, and there'd be no dishes when I'm finished cooking because I'm washing as I'm going. Because I
love
hate
it.
cooking.
My type. But like I said, I was thinking while I was listening your story, like your mother, your grandma, they were present, they would come to support you. Being a single parent,
Mm,
or it is a huge difference when you are a mother and you are a
mm,
father, I do
mm,
believe. Because when you are a father like you automatically, a mother has an alarm. I need to help my son.
mm,
But mothers with daughters, it's not exactly. I don't think it generates the alarm as well. Okay, my daughter is a single. I need to help her, but
mm,
it's different because they think boys they cannot do it. I don't have boys, but I do have friends that have boys, and it's the way they tend to think about my baby boy. He
yeah.
needs help, and the
Uh,
girls because we are
that's
brought to the world. This is quite interesting because I'm now doing some workshops. I think I told you,
yeah,
um, to raise awareness of violence and abuse
yeah,
on girls.
yeah.
And one of the part is that we're gonna be
Mm,
talking with boys and girls, and is one of the things because we are brought or like raised up with this idea that boys don't cry, boys
mm,
don't feel fear, don't have anything that girls have. Girls
mm,
feel sorry, girls can clean, girls can wash, girls can cook, girls can do everything. And
yeah.
then my mom, of course, I know my mom was worried. She
Mm,
never appreciated the fact that I'm, but in terms of approaching, like when they think they I believe that they quickly move themselves and go in and help their boys, then they help their girls because
yeah,
they know they've been raising a girl like herself, because
yeah.
they know how to do things. So they feel
Mm,
like, nah, she's got it. and we end up got it. We got
yeah,
it, but it is different because I was hearing you and I'm like, yeah. Oh, it's not like my mom was not for me, but I think it's different. I think there is a difference because we are here like mother
mm.
and father, single for parents, but it is a difference. Yes.
Yeah, I
By
noticed. So I was going to say,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
'cause I noticed before I was a single parent, my son's mum, she had two daughters from previous marriage, and so they lived with us, or lived with me, for a large portion of their childhood, pretty much all their childhood to adulthood, um, and it was. but that wasn't a single parent scenario, so that was different. And also, too, I wasn't their dad, so there was a difference there in how there was always a boundary. From
Mm.
that, there was a little bit of, but there was always a boundary where it's like, okay, I'm not. This is your mum's domain, and not that it was really said, but she was a very protective woman, which most women are, which is fine, which is supposed to be the tigress. Had that friend
Yeah.
said to when they first met, she goes, "This woman's a real tigress." She, anyway, um, and the yeah, so there was so my experience with girls was with stepdaughters, but there was a limit, and it wasn't in a single parent scenario. So I'm not sure how I would go in that side of things. And there's things that mums and daughters talk about that dads don't. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we just don't know that kind of stuff. I mean, I'd feel really uncomfortable talking to if it was a daughter about her period and stuff like that. I wouldn't even know where to go with that. I can't. It's it's like me. I can attend all the classes I want on pregnancy. I can talk to all the women I want on pregnancy. But for me to talk about pregnancy, like this is what it's like, I can never have that experience. I can't do that. It's not something that I ever could, I cannot ever have, I can't give birth to a child. So I can't talk about it. I can read about it, but from a real world perspective, I can't describe that. I don't know what it
You
is.
can't, yeah, you can't describe. This is
Yeah.
an example. It's very, very. This, yes, you can still talk, but you don't know the feelings, but you can learn.
Yeah, I can
I
tell you about
think,
the academics. I mean, but I
yeah,
deal with that all the time with my the one of my companies with the consulting side of things, and we have academics tell us all the time about stuff, and I'm looking going, you have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, yes, you understand the theory, but you don't know what it's like in real life. They're very different. You haven't been. It was funny. We had a law firm given description of contracts, and they were talking about it, and as we were listening and going, you've never
but
been to a
is
construction site at all, have you? Just the way you're talking about, you have no idea what you're talking about.
but
Yes, you
is
understand the theory.
the theory, yeah. But that is one thing. That is doctors.
Mm,
Uh, give birth to help mothers to give birth,
mm,
that they are males, they know. So they know. It depends how far
yeah,
or further you go with this kind of
mm,
specific with this kind of thing, which is giving birth.
mm,
Because for me it's the same, like if you want to come and talk about cars,
mm,
you presume that as a woman I don't know anything, but I'm going out from the biology, like
yeah,
mother giving birth. But talking about, unless you know that I'm working on this kind of field,
mm,
you're not going to presume straight away that I know to talk about cars.
mm.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
It
Yeah,
is,
there's a stereotypical view that we have in the gender sense is what you're referring to.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and that's where it said from that. So look at you. You talking about you know, because I do. I mean, I had a son, so that was I can. But even then, we're different in a number of different ways. Where
Yeah.
so that's different. But yeah, I do wonder, you know, if it was a daughter. I mean, I always wanted more children, but you get what you get. And
Still got time. You still got
true,
time,
it's
baby.
true. The
There you go. You don't give birth.
exactly. Um, and it's so, but yeah, I wonder about that and going, well, if this circumstance was different, I mean, I know I'm pretty confident I'd be a very good dad to daughters. I mean, I was a very good, I had a number of parents tell me at the girls' school, the stepdaughter's school, that I was more their dad than their dad was. So that was kind of flattering because I was always there supporting them, doing them in a stereotypical dad way. I was, but I wasn't the
Mhm.
mum, and I don't know that I could fulfill that role. But I guess that's what, yeah. So maybe that's why
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. So I was
All
kind of
depends as well. There we go. They were your stepdaughters, and they still have a dad, and you have a boundaries relationship, because that is there is stepdads that they are more than the real fathers. And at the same time, when you were talking about them,
mm,
I remember you saying about your partner, your wife or ex-wife. um she had two daughters, and she has your son.
mm,
Do you remember how she would, like, for example, at the end of I don't know what age he was back that times, but let's tell me you, if was today, how do you think she would react with three kids at home? And like, because we normally put our kids like helping us to wash the dishes, or like for the dinner, let's prepare the dinner, put the table on, take the table out. How do you think in a situation like this, parents with two girls and one boy, how do you think the mom he will
yeah.
manage the
See,
things?
and that's where the I mean, you mentioned the stereotypical thing, whereas is that wasn't our life, because I grew up and I had a very, um, my mum was a very strong figure. And you mentioned it because it was funny when you mentioned about cars, because when my mum wanted to be a motor mechanic when she was a teenager, and she actually did. She was post World War II. She was the first female apprentice motor mechanic in Australia. So she
Ah,
actually, and she
so
moved
awesome.
from Victoria to New South Wales to be able to do that. I think she was 16 or 17 at the time. So she left her
Wow.
family, went to another state, 8 hours, 8.5 hours away, to do this role. She stayed there. She had friends of family up there that she stayed with to be able to do this. And she was always very much on. So when I was growing up as a kid, I did a lot of things around. We had to wash the dishes. People would ask my mum, "Why don't you get a dishwasher?" And she goes, "I've got two. Those two over there." And she pointed to me and my sister.
You see, but some parents, they straight
So,
away, they don't do that.
so
They do that.
when we were together, like at home, I did a lot of cooking. I did a lot of cleaning. I did the washing. Um, I was very organized. That's just
Yeah.
I had that from my mum, and then I went to the army, so I was super organized, and I just did that stuff. And similar sort of thing with my son now. I mean, he has things to. We're talking about. He has you know, in addition to his homework and stuff like that, he empties the bins, he cleans the bathroom. So he'll go out and mop the bathroom out and clean it, and that's his job. He'll, if I need other things done around the house, like say vacuum the house or something like that, he'll I say ask him to do it, and he'll go and do it. So, but I mean, again, it's one of those, yeah. It's not I can't answer it again from that stereotypical role, because that wasn't my
Yeah, it
experience.
wasn't yours. Yeah. Yeah.
If there's a piece of clothing laying on the ground, I won't step over it. I'll pick it up and put it in the wash. But our relationship with his mum was kind of the opposite. I was always the one, tidying up and picking stuff up, and I remember one time his mum went away, and because we were reasonably well off, and I asked the cleaner. I said, "Can you go through the wardrobe?" And we had I mean, to put it in context, as far as clothes goes, she had. I counted. It was about 120 or 140 pairs of shoes, and yeah, I can't remember exactly the number now, but it was over 100 by margin, and but the clothes closet was always stuff everywhere. It was never folded. And so I asked the cleaner. I said when she went away somewhere, I can't remember what it was, but I said, "Can you just go through and just stack it neatly?" And it turned out there was 34 pairs of jeans, the same jeans.
Yeah,
So
you told me the other day.
yeah.
Yes, I
And so it
remember
was
that.
like, and so that's where when we're talking about this stereotypical relationship, it's kind of the opposite from mine. But then it's funny that you mentioned that, because we talk about, you mentioned about earlier, boys don't cry, and those what and I don't like that they use that as norms, because that's not my experience, and I know from all the people that I know, well, maybe, yeah, well, or maybe not know, but that I'm close to, and the parents that I deal with, all the men do stuff around the house. It's not a stereotypical thing where it's like the men, you're describing how the men don't know what to do. All these men are doing that. They all
I
know, and
think,
I mean, I talk about, because when I was in the army, I was at the SAS, so it wasn't, these weren't, they were really tough guys.
yeah, but
None of them had a problem expressing their emotions.
I
Sh
think, Damien, sorry, I
mm,
think the stereotype is
mm,
there is different levels, but I would say culture as well,
mm.
because the culture is very influential. Yeah,
I know
it's the
I mean, I
culture.
know there's out there, and there's certain elements of that.
Hmm.
And yeah, but it wasn't sort of that. I think that's, yes, there's part of it, but that's why I don't like the term being, it's the norm, and it implies that that's what everyone does, but it's not.
No,
There's
it's
an
not, of
element that
course.
does that, yes.
Yeah,
Um,
I know, but it's in
mm,
general,
mm,
if we touch the cultures or we touch the, because if you think about quickly about, now I say quickly, I'm not thinking quickly, fast,
mm,
Arabics,
mm,
totally. It's culture. It's no stereotype. It's culture.
mm,
Women are treated like, I don't know, I'm not going to say anything, but most of the countries, but it's not everyone, but
yeah.
it
No,
is.
and yeah, so that's even, I mean, I can't say for Arabic, but I know, one of my business partners in one of the companies that I have, he's Iranian, and and that has a stereotypical view of, but their family's nothing like that. It's the
Thank
opposite.
God.
She's in charge, and but that's their
Thank God.
normal, and not just them. That they said, it's there is a part of it, but it's funny. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't get publicity from what I've
Hmm.
seen, where
Yeah, totally
where
agree.
it's actually the opposite of what is put out there as being the norm.
Yeah,
Um,
but
I'm dealing with, I'm working a lot with, in the Afghan area, with the Afghani people, putting some things together, and it's amazing how much power and influence the women have now, and
mm,
which is not put out there. And it's
that's the reason.
certainly I mean, yes, there's certain elements that have, prominent now, that are suppressing that. But as their natural culture, it's the opposite of what the history is. It's kind of the
Yeah,
women
but
that are
that's the
important.
reason they still almost anonymous. That things that is happening that's so
Yeah.
good that you presenting, like that you living by experience. Because
Yeah.
I do as well live amazing
Mm,
stories with Arabic people or
mm,
other countries, but at the same time I hear other things. But what I'm talking here is something I
mm,
just said Arabic, but I do have a recent
mm,
I can remember now, is Sri Lanka. A recent story in
mm.
my life that I couldn't do anything, and
Yeah. And
from
it sort
another
of that,
country,
yeah,
and it's like,
it certainly exists. I agree completely, and we want to eliminate that kind of thing. I just
"Hmm?
don't like the fact that it's called a norm. I don't think it is. That's my
No,
from my experience.
it's not
But
normal."
and yeah, there's certainly repressive elements, and we need to remove them. I completely agree with
Yeah,
that, and working towards that. Um, we're getting off
that is.
topic there, but it's something that I think we're both
No,
passionate
really.
about as well. As I don't like the word, I prefer to use as oppression, and I really despise, hate, um, all those strong words. Oppression is, it's just wrong.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah.
It's
But don't worry, we're not going out from our topic. It's just we were talking about women and the way we are
mm,
like looked, envisioned.
mm,
Like, how do you see straight away?
yeah,
I don't understand. You're probably gonna think, Yola doesn't understand about cars until I tell you, okay, I work with cars or I build cars or
yeah,
I.
yeah.
But that's why we came into the countries and culture. So
Well, that's
we're
it, and
still
that's
curious.
where, I mean, when we deal with that and we wonder, I mean, this is where, I mean, because if we were talking about, how to have a healthy balance of work and family life as a single parent, it's, I mean, was there any strategies or things that you put in place to make sure you did? Was it something you thought about, or how did you? Because I know from talking with in our discussions before, you seem to have a relatively good balance in your life and of your own mental well-being. Um,
Mhm.
so I'm just wondering whether you consciously thought about that, or whether how you managed it.
Oh, it's like I told you before today.
Mm,
Uh, I did struggle when she became adult
mm,
than before because everything was managed or was yeah, managed by me. So let's say
mm,
let me give you example. I knew exactly what time my daughter is going to school, what time I
mm,
need to drop her, what time I need to wake up, what time I need to pick up, what time I need to make cookie,
yeah,
play with her, go to the. I knew I managed the time
mm,
between her on time and my time.
yeah,
Um, and there we go. Of course, I had all worries, but not related with my daughter.
yeah,
Um, but yes, with other things like um, my apartment in Portugal back in the days. Uh, and the people is not paying or something else. But
mm,
regarding my daughter was like my I dreamed to have a daughter, and then I dreamed to do things that I used to do when I was young, and I managed to create that
mm,
um, for her and for myself. So I was always having fun. I don't
yeah,
remember really in terms of um worry. Of course, if she would get sick or if
mm,
she would get a cold or something, but that is normal, babe, like normal things. But no, I can't remember. But when she became an adult, um, just going out, um, I'm trying to give an example. Yeah, going out to the first time to a club. Woo,
mm.
that was crazy.
I haven't had that experience yet. I'm waiting.
It's like, oh my God, she will be fine. She will no. It's like it's certain things that we, as a parents, we will say to our kids, like, be careful with your drink. Don't let your drink by yourself, like
Yeah.
alone. These kind
I'm
of things.
wondering
And
about that, the drinking side of things, because where that goes, I'd be very surprised if he smokes, because he just the what's taught now around that,
mm,
is very different than when I was growing up. And I mean, I used to smoke. I don't smoke. I haven't. He's never. I don't think he's ever seen me smoke. There was times there when I did smoke, but he never saw that. So I don't think he's ever seen me smoke, and his mum doesn't smoke. Um, occasionally she had one at a party or something like that. But well, I'm assuming I haven't. We haven't spoken for a long time, so I don't know if she does or not. I'm assuming not. Um, and so I'd be very, very surprised if he smokes. The drinking side of things, I wonder, because I don't drink anymore. I drank all my share at once, so I've had enough of that, and
yes, you
I
had your times.
yeah, and it was, well, there was a reason which I won't get into here, but there was a reason why I decided not to drink, and it wasn't to do with me. But then after that, I found I actually felt better, because I wasn't drinking. And it just stayed because I find if I have a drink, I start to feel a bit tired, and you know me, I don't. I'm always
You don't
doing
stop.
something. So being tired is like something I don't want to be feeling. People go, how do you have so much energy? And it's like, well, I've certainly since I stopped drinking, I've got a lot more energy. My body's not dealing with all that in my system. Um, and and that's what he's experienced. So I mean, he hasn't, as a growing child, really seen me drink at all. And so I'm not having, when we have a barbecue or anything like that, and we have, you know, people over, some people have a drink, but I don't drink. And he sees that I'm not drinking. And it has been referenced in some of the conversation that he's had. I can't think of the exact words, but I know I can tell from things that he said that he notices that I'm not drinking. And a couple of comments he's made about alcohol. So I'm going, what's going to happen? We get, and the other thing that I wonder about too, because and this is the teachers mention this a lot, that he's not easily influenced by other people. The words where he goes his own way, and he's quietly goes his own way, and he's confident with that. So I wonder from that perspective, because I mean, he comes with me when we go to poker nights. So we have boys poker nights, which is very, very boys poker nights. You know, it's all fart jokes and sledging and, you know, hanging shit on each other and, you know, lots of comments like that. It's very, very boys night. And so it was a bit when I first brought my son along, it was like, okay, we'll see what happens here. And he got sledged and he just fired back and took the other person down. Everyone's just
Oh
going, oh my
wow.
God. And so he was okay in that environment. He held his own. He was quite comfortable. But what's interesting is that he's also noticed, because there's others drinking there, but I don't drink. But there's also a couple of other guys there that don't drink either. And so there's some of us that don't drink at all. So we're having a poker night, and some people are having drink, others are not. But he's noticed people are not drinking. So I do wonder when he's able to drink, because he's 14 at the moment. What?
I,
Yeah. So I
what's
won't
gonna
be,
happen?
you know, yeah, because you know, come and have your first drink with your dad. I won't be doing that, because I don't do it. So it's be
You need to live on
yeah.
God's hands
But then on the other
because
side of things, you know, his mum drinks a lot. So, well,
but let
well,
me tell
I
you,
shouldn't say that because I don't know what she does now, but certainly.
yeah, but let me tell you, I grew up with a mom. She used to smoke,
Mm,
but she never drank.
mm,
But and I'm a woman that I consider myself. I'm not a drinker. Never
mm,
been a drinker. I
yeah,
like a good glass of wine.
mm,
Not gonna lie. But when I was young, I didn't. I did drink, and I didn't think about if my mom drinks or not, if I'm being raising or not. It was all about curiosity because we have that time.
mm,
It's all about. But then, even with drugs,
mm,
till today, I don't have any curiosity with
mm,
drugs apart from I did smoke weed, but that was curiosity, and I didn't like that.
mm,
But apart from that, I never went up to another type of
yeah,
drugs. But what I'm trying to say here, and my mom never done that. I didn't
mm,
grow up in an environment that people smokes and drinks, and no, not really.
mm,
But I had my own friends, and I don't know. It was the because that's me, right? But
mm,
my daughter, for example,
yeah,
she's living or she's growing or she's not she didn't she was not raised as well between alcohol and smokes and something because if I would smoke this is my when I used to smoke I did smoke
mm,
I used to avoid the maximum. I need to smoke on areas that my daughter is not. I don't even today I don't find, even if I'm going to your friend's house, my face will change if I see
mhm,
someone, an adult smoking close to children. I don't really like, I don't know how to, my face will turn off.
yeah,
But So I always had that thing in myself, but nowadays my daughter is living in an era. It's a lot of drugs, it's a lot of drinks, and it's a lot of crazy things like talking about drugs. Uh,
Mm,
that can be fatal,
mm,
and I see. I'm not saying that she's not drinking. She tried. She goes out and she likes to drink. But it is something that we need to, when you get there, right? We need to always give our, it's not like control, but monetize, or I don't know if it's a better word, because she's an adult, but I
mm.
still say to her, listen, be careful with your glass when you are out.
Yeah.
These kind of things I still feel like I need to say.
Mm,
um yes, it's just to tell you that no matter, sometimes it doesn't matter if my mom, in my situation, my mom never
mm,
drunk anything. She really never is that kind of person that never in her life wear, how we say this, wear, I want to say she never wear jeans,
mm,
like jeans
yeah.
trousers.
You never wore jeans.
She never wore a jeans,
Yeah.
anything like that, always on dresses,
Yeah.
and she never drank.
Mm,
So it's two things that I know about her.
yeah.
But I wear jeans and I did drink and I like to. There you go. I can have like a glass
Yeah.
of wine once in a. I don't know. I don't really.
Mm,
It's not a normal thing for me. It's not something that I'm gonna do coming to the weekend and I'm gonna do it. But I appreciate a good red wine. Yeah,
mm,
but back in the days, I did go to clubbing because, like, already, like for me, because I love to dance. I
mm,
think I told you, right, that
yeah.
I'm qualified dancer. So for me, going out is all about dancing.
Yeah.
So alcohol doesn't work with my dance. You become. It's
Yeah.
just people when I see that people
Mm,
drinking, I say, tomorrow you don't even know what was the beat that was going on in the club because you can't
yeah.
remember anything. So we don't know
Yeah.
till you get there.
Yeah. Well, and so that's where I wonder about it because I know that you mentioned drugs as well, and I know from the friends that he has and the parents, because I know the parents, um, that it's the drugs are not really something that's would expect is going to be from well, it's not a normal part of their life as well. Like, and drugs are certainly not a part of we don't sit there and have discussions about it. We don't need to because it's just not part of our life. It's not part of our world. The friends that we have, as far as can tell, none of them, drugs is not even on the. Not
But
even a discussion
listen,
point.
Damien,
But
my
then,
daughter,
mm,
my daughter, she was raised without any of these like drugs, or so she's not consuming drugs. She doesn't smoke,
yeah. So
and
that's yeah,
she knows what. But because I shared what I lived, do you
yeah,
understand? I think, in my opinion, drinking is not good, but I gave my reasons why I
mm,
don't smoke or why I don't.
mm,
I think that helps them think. Okay, do
yeah,
you understand?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because this is not for me.
'Cause
Because still today, she say, I really don't fancy. She got her friends that grew up with her. The
mm,
other day we were here at home. They call me mom. And I end up finding that two of her best friends, they are smoking weed
yeah,
for when they go out or something. And I was like, eh, it is strange because it is when you go out. Because imagine if my daughter goes
mm,
to, I don't know, or your son goes to, I say, Dad, listen, I'm going to travel to Europe.
mm,
You don't know. Going to Spain, coming to London, coming to.
mm,
It's just the people that you're going to meet on the way, because you maybe not going to, never going to do again, but it's just sometimes can be that. Thank God she's still not doing. but I hope she's still like that. But it's just an example I'm giving you. It is
Yeah. Do you
this.
think it's talking about the full process? Because that's something, I mean, we haven't talked about it much, but whenever I've talked about it, it's, um, because if you're taking drugs or having a drink, whatever, you have the high, but then you have the down as well.
Hmm.
And
That's what I.
when I have talked about it, I've talked about the down because if I'm talking about drinking, and with my son, which just hasn't happened often, but when I've talked about well, I don't do it because it affects me, makes me tired, makes me, and I'm talking about the negative aspects of it.
Yeah, me
Um,
too.
and so I'm just wondering whether that colors that, and also too, we're looking at it from the perspective of, um, because another friend of mine, he used to be a heavy drug user a long time ago,
Right.
and he stopped that, and now he's helping a lot of people, and I love his words, and these are his words. He says, "There's the giving high is so much better than any drug high I ever had." He said,
Hmm.
and so that's part of what is the narrative that my son experiences as well. Because a lot of times, even as we're doing this recording, I mean, he's not here now because it's early, he's morning, and he stayed up late playing video games, so he's still in bed. But there's a lot of times where I'll be doing an interview and talking with people, and because he doesn't, we don't have a TV set up in bedrooms in this house. Um, so when we're doing this kind of thing, I've got my desk here, and his desk is just over there, where he does
Hmm.
his thing on his
Yeah.
computer and stuff like that. So we're not. So he actually is in earshot, and I notice times where I'll be doing an interview, and I'll finish, and because I think he's got his earphones in, so he can't really hear. But I'll finish the interview, and I say, "Okay, we've hit recording." He goes, "Thank God, now I can turn the volume up." So it's like you've been listening the whole time. Um,
Wow.
so, and I wonder how much that. I mean, well, not wonder. I know that
Impact.
influences, but how much
Yeah,
influence?
impact and yeah.
Yeah, so
It
because it
is.
is all these conversations where we're talking about, people talking about the giving high, all that kind of stuff, and he's involved with that kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
and it's different as well because I mean, and you you relate to this when I tell this story, people, but we were going out one time and with had some friends here, and we were in he was coming with us, and I saw he left his phone on his desk. I said, "You forgot your phone." He goes, "No, I don't need it." And it was like, I said, "But what if you get bored?" He goes, "Ah, it'll be right." And
One thing, Damian, do you live in there is another thing that we can add to this,
mm,
um, what we're talking about, the way they will face the alcohol and so on, or
mm,
how it's gonna be for your son and so on. One important thing is the big cities.
mm.
That's another thing, because I don't think so. You live in a big city, right?
Well, it's down there where the beach is, but yeah, there's close to the city in his other place. So.
It's
So
outside the city.
because we
It's
used to live
close.
in, yeah, but well, we're 10 minutes from central Melbourne. So yeah,
Ah, okay. So you're in the
yeah.
countryside.
So he's used to
Yeah.
traveling around the city, and his school's right in the heart of the city. Well, not in the CBD, but right, he's so that's where his school is. Um,
Hmm.
so there, so whether then, so that's why I wonder what's going to happen. Um,
Yeah.
when he gets to that age when people, because there will be some of the people that he associates that they will do some monumentally stupid stuff. That's some
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
will.
Yeah. Yeah. Just for
Um,
the curiosity,
yeah.
because I could tell you a lot of, because my daughter
Mm,
is older than than my your son right now, and I could tell you loads of stories. I know
mm,
loads of stories from people that you never think they're gonna
mm,
be going through this kind of thing.
mm,
When I say never think, is because they're not been raised. They are very protected, or they are um, very well, like,
mm,
educated, or but sometimes there is stories that you just think, wow, that's
mm.
crazy. But do whatever you need to do. Make sure you keep doing. Don't think. Don't worry.
Well, that's it. It's one of those things, and that's why I say to him all the time. I say, well, you can always come to me and tell me. I'll always be there for you. I'll always be your dad. If you've done something stupid, it's better to tell me rather than me find out, because I won't be happy if I
Yeah,
find
but
out. But if you come and tell me and something goes, and I think I get that from my parents, because my parents were always, if something goes wrong or you do something wrong, you tell us, because if we hear it from anybody else, you're in a lot more trouble.
yeah, but we are not their best friends.
Yeah,
Remember
I'm
that?
definitely not. And I don't even, so I don't see myself as, I don't want to be. We do stuff together. I mean, he'll come and play sports. So we play badminton with there's a gentleman across the road. There's a group of people. We go and play badminton. He comes along and plays that together. So he comes poker nights. So we have that time together.
You are a
But
friend.
when
You
but
are a
when we're
good friend.
doing that kind of stuff, it's not. I still see myself as his dad, but a lot of times I'll step back. I'm not in those situations. It's more about him. I remember the first was no, it wasn't the first time. I think it was the second or third time we're playing poker, and I'd explained to him how to play, and he'd just get smashed because he wasn't listening. He didn't listen to what I told him of how to play, and and oh, actually, no, I didn't really give him much instruction. Then one time we were there, I pulled him aside and I said, "Okay, this is how you play. Here's a couple of key rules, 3 rules. Just do these rules, and you'll last a lot longer, and you'll be fine." And so we went and played the next game after giving that instruction, and he didn't follow. He didn't do it all. He got smashed. And then next game, didn't follow it. And then I said, I can't remember what I said to him. I said something. I said, "Did you even listen to what I just told you, earlier on this evening," or something along those lines. I just asked him that question, and I saw something triggered in his mind. And then we had the next round, and I think there was 8 of us playing at that time. Um, Everyone else got knocked out. He was heads up at the end, so he actually followed that, and then has ever since then has played along that, and he's played really, really well. So it was just interesting to see that, when that he listened, she did, when he chose that's what he wanted to do. But it was,
Hmm.
but where I was
They
going with that,
chose.
from my perspective, I wasn't constantly telling him what to do. It was like, what do you want to do, and if this is the outcome you want. But I always see myself not as his friend in these situations. I'm seeing myself as a dad, and there's a lot of times where I'll deliberately sit back and exclude myself, not physically, but if he's having banter with other people, and even if he's getting sledged hard, I will sit back, and it's like, well, you're going to
Yeah,
grow. You got to deal with
but
it.
when you're sitting back and when you coming forward, you are a friend. You still you acting as a friend, because
Mm.
maybe this is my opinion, right?
Yeah,
Because I don't consider my I have best friends. My best friends is
yeah,
almost the same age than myself, but I consider my daughter a friend.
mm.
But at the same time, I'm her mother.
Yeah,
Don't come with stories like, because if my best friend says, actually, I do respect what my best friend says, and she respects
mm.
me, so I assume that even if I'm calling you as a friend to my daughter, it's not like my best friend or my friends, but
Yeah,
it is a friend to the point that I'm
mm.
here for you. I can do things with you. I
Yeah. I hear what
enjoy
you
to
mean.
be with you.
Yeah,
I like to have a good time, because if I don't call her my friend, what I'm gonna call just a mother,
mm.
I don't know. It doesn't
No,
fit on
I
my
get that.
on my
Yeah, I hadn't
profile.
looked at it from that perspective. Yeah,
Yeah, I think because when you were talking,
mm.
I was thinking, is my daughter consider me her best friend? Because sometimes we think we're not friends, and they consider us as the best
Yeah,
friends. Do you know
that's a
that?
good point. Yeah,
Do you know that? Because
yeah,
they will say, "Who is your best friend?" Is my dad, or is my
yeah,
mom? I know he got my back. Do you understand? That kind of best friend.
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. That's
and
a
they
good point.
sometimes Yeah, they sometimes think
Mm.
just like how he's gonna describe myself to others. Maybe he's describing
Mm.
you as a best friend, or my daughter is describing me, because every friend calls me mom. It's not
Mm.
out of the blue they're gonna call me mom. They feel like, yes, this mom is really cool. But if I lose my,
Yeah.
my, it's like normally in Portuguese we do say I lose my heel. It's like, I don't know, it's not like that. But it's
Mm.
like, you take me out of my heel, I
Yeah.
will completely change. This is another Yola, you're gonna be on army. It's straight away you're gonna be like you're like on army.
Yeah.
It's just the way I think sometimes it is important to see the other side, because they
Yeah.
maybe they on their minds they think we are their best friends, and we are
Do you think
definitely
it
we
comes
are.
down to, I mean, what you're talking about there, that there's that respect as well? That,
Yeah,
they because you're the parent, but you're doing it in a friendly way, and that
yeah,
they feel that your daughter feels that you're always gonna be there for her. You might not agree with everything she does, but you're still gonna be there for you. Do you think that's part of that component, that there's a trust that you're, 'cause I mean, I certainly know from my perspective,
hmm,
I think I mentioned it just before that, I tell my son, you know, "No matter what, I'll always be there for you." And I tell him too, when June stole my line, the movie June, um, I'm owning it, but it's probably not my line. I've taken it from other people, but I've said to him, "It doesn't matter for me. You're already everything you ever need to be. You're my son. Whatever you do after that is up to you. But you're already everything you need to be." Um, and and from that perspective, giving them that sense of they are enough already. Um, Do you think that gives them that self-esteem where they know that they can always turn to you, even if
to
they're
us.
feeling, not strong, as much as that gives them very strong self-esteem, if they're not feeling strong, they always know that they can turn to you for that strength. Do you think that makes a difference?
Yes, makes, back and turn different ways, but yes, but it makes. I'm definitely does, because their self-esteem is higher, because and if we think about how you can achieve achieve your own self-esteem, because this is a process, right? It's not
Mm,
something that happens from 1 hour to the other. But in terms of self-esteem, if you think about when you feel on
mm,
that nice level, you feel good, something and some people help you to get there. and
mm,
and the, and we don't forget that. We
yeah,
don't Definitely we don't forget that, because if you do something really good to me right now,
mm,
that I'm willing to, and um I don't know how to say, not expecting, but you know that I'm going to be I'm going to be so happy.
mm,
My self-esteem is going to go whoo, boom, to the top, and I will know exactly that was because you made me feel that way, or
mm,
you will be part of the 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 feeling. You will be part of the journey to that top that I'm myself
mm,
want to achieve, or the way I feel. I know that, oh, Damian made me feel that, help me to get what I am now, because we
mm,
normally tend so. And that applies as well for our kids, I
mm,
think, because they will know that we made him feel good. Because if he finish a game, for example, he's playing something on the computer on your side, but you actually had a look and you helping him, or you gave some advice, and he ends up winning.
mm,
woo, that is like, yeah, my dad is the best. Do you understand?
Oh, we
It's
had
like,
that with a computer game experience, and I always use it to the advantage. There was one day, this is a separate, I'll come back to the original story.
yeah.
He was playing for 2 days trying to kill this big boss. And so you could sit there and go, "What are you doing 2 days?" I mean, but I did, and he got the big boss and said, "How much determination is that? How much commitment to your goal have you had?" And I was using it from that way to describe, if you stick at something long enough, no matter what it is, that's a computer game you're doing there, but that principle applies to everything in life. Do you get that? And he goes, "Yeah, I get it." And it's like, but we had that experience with another time when it was a lot younger. That was, he didn't play games as much then because I just didn't let him. Um, and we were playing a driving game. And so we were driving and we were taking turns rotating. So he'd do a lap, I would do a race, and then I'd do a race, and maybe he was tired. I don't know, but he had this shocker of her. It was just bad. He did everything, messed it up. It was terrible. He's getting frustrated. He's just and got to there, and it's just everything was wrong, and he's all frustrated and just losing it. And I was, so that was my turn, and I said, "No, you get back on there again. And this time, what I want you to do is you focus on where you're going, how you're doing things, focus forward, focus on your outcome, not the things that are going wrong. Focus on what you want to do, focus on the corners, focus on how you're driving, and you'll do this race again." He did the best race he's ever done. But it wasn't about him doing the best race. When he finished, I said to him, "What did you learn from that?" And he says, "Yeah, no matter what goes wrong, you just get up and do it again." That were his words. And it
That's
was like,
awesome.
yeah, so that was, to me, that was really powerful. He recognized that if something doesn't go wrong, or if something doesn't go right, if everything falls apart from that experience that he had there, and I remind him, I did, I don't have it for now, but I did, was reminding him of that, going, "Do you remember when this happened and you everything went wrong, you then got back up, you changed your focus. That was the only difference. Everything else was the same. You just changed your focus and it all worked out really well." He goes, "Yeah, I remember." And so,
Yes.
it's one of those, for me, it was always one of those things of, all right, how can I use this to help guide the right principles? And again, that wasn't being I mean, I was doing it in a friendly way, but I was certainly being the leader there with an objective to help him develop his own ability to do things for himself. I wasn't being a buddy going, "Oh, yeah, that sucks," and yeah, whatever. It was, "No, you are doing this again," which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the parent role. It's which is
Yeah.
slightly different.
Between I when I say I'm a friend of my daughter,
Mm.
I always have that kind of thing. I will always say, yes, but you should cook and wash. I don't like this. This is an example, right? Because she's not like me. But it's like, yes, but would be better if you and that is motherhood. It's not a friend talking.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah.
it
Well,
is
and that was
myself.
the thing too. We had that. There was It was to do. It was with his karate, where I know he wasn't studying, and he had a grading coming up. This was a little while ago, and I could see he wasn't doing it. I think it was his green belt, maybe. Anyway, it was one of his earlier belts, and I know he wasn't doing the work. I was just not doing it, and we're talking about it with the sensei, and I said, "I'm not going to tell him to do this. Actually, I'm happy if he fails it when everyone else gets it, because then he's going to have that experience." And so I allowed him to fail, and he went and did it, and he failed. And I asked him, "How did that feel in front of everybody else? You did that and you failed." He goes, "I didn't like it." So I didn't like it at all. So I said, "Well, what are you going to learn from that going forward?" He goes, yeah, I need to do the work. And he did.
Good.
And it's the same now. I mean, we had that discussion, as his sensei said on yesterday when he had his he had a karate lesson, because it's part of school that they do that as well. And sensei said, yeah, he said if he and I haven't really pushed him or asked him, he said, yeah, if he gets this last kata like the rest of it, he does the work on Thursday, I'll recommend him for black belt. And I said, it's up to you. I'm not going to remind you, but you can get your recommendation on Thursday if you want to. What do you want to do? I'm pretty sure it'll be coming, because he's had that other experience where you can fail. This is what it feels like if you. It's not that sometimes things come out of left field and it knocks you over, but when you know that you haven't done the work, and then you fail. I remember it was Michael Jordan talking about how he got cut from the basketball team when he was younger, and he went to the coach and said, how'd I get cut? I'm the most talented guy out there. And the coach said, you're exactly right. You are the most talented guy there, but your attitude sucks. You don't train, and that's not good enough. And it changed his whole perspective because he got cut. So sometimes I wonder, we like you say, you want to be friends in the sense of friendly, and you want to have that friendly discussion. But same token too, as a parent, I like to keep that hat on of, there's a line. I'll be friendly to a
Oh
point.
yeah. Oh yes, there is a line, really.
Yeah. It's like,
I'm not gonna.
I'm still, first and foremost, I'm your parent, which is, and that was, some of the experience we've had there where, and I think it's where, I mean, I don't know. It's that I wonder, I go, well, okay, what's going to happen? It's all right to say he's 14 now. And it's all right to say, well, okay, yeah, it's working well. I mean, it could all go pear-shaped. He might, go,
What's gonna happen?
don't
We
know.
don't know. Just don't know. I don't know either with myself. So don't know. I don't really know if I'm gonna go to Australia, actually,
Yeah.
soon. It's one of my dreams, so I need to do that. I need to go
Ah,
there. I need to go
that's-
to Australia. Yeah, I always dream about it since I was young. Like, so I don't know. I don't know. I just know that we are here, right?
Yeah.
And we need to do our our work as parents or job. I don't know how to call it, but I don't consider just enjoying yourself because it's a job or work. I don't know the difference now, but yeah,
Well, it's not. I mean, and
it's
it's
a
funny.
business. It's a business,
My,
Damian.
yeah, I said my business.
No,
My son's karate sensei was listening to him speak to the kids yesterday, and he goes, who here works? And he goes, I don't work, because I love what I do. This is not work for me. I love it.
yeah,
No, that's how I kind of the stuff that I do. It's the same thing. I really enjoy what having the discussion that we're having. It's pretty awesome. That's not work, but it helps a lot of people as well, which is really important. The
yes,
work we
but
did,
being a parent,
like you, I mean, working in that family violence space. I mean, the program that we brought from Brisbane down to Victoria. I wasn't. There's a lot of people doing a lot of work. My contribution was I paid for it all, so which everyone's part had a part to play in that. I
yes,
paid for it, enabled that to happen, which but it was just that fantastic part to be able to help and enable something to move forward and that helps other people. It was it was really cool. It was really cool. I
So
was
that's
thinking
good.
about it there for a little bit. I was going, "Why am I spending all this money?" But then when saw that not only that it happened and how much support was there for it, and then they've organised the next workshop already. It was just a wonderful thing to do, and I think that's coming back to my friend Jason, who I mentioned before. Smoking a lot of smoking, doing a lot of heavy drugs. And then now realizes that helping others is where the bigger high is. Not only that, you don't have the down from it. The radio show I sent you, because I'm hosting a radio show now as well, we sneak these little comments in about, there's little bits about the giver's high, how to get the giver's high, and all this kind of stuff. We just put these little things that make people feel good, to try and make that more exciting. So yeah. Anyway, I'm digressing
I'm
now.
writing.
So yeah, but I think we. I think this topic we're off topic, but we're on topic. We're talking about the parenting side of things, which I think is really, it wasn't, we were talking about our own self-care, but we're actually talking about our relationship with our children, which has been really good. And I think from your perspective, I love how you always listen and spend that time and made that time. But I think even as a single parent, I was writing down here. I made a note that because when we talk about that balance, healthy work-life balance, but I'm putting it in the category of stress-life balance. It seemed to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but listening to you, the reason you had balance is you talked about doing things for her, doing things for your daughter, and as a result of that, because there was, you had to work and you had to, clean things and look after the house and stuff like that, but you always made time to do things with your daughter. Do you think that's what gave you that balance and that?
I think so, and I know that if I could, I would do more. I would do more on that times, like, because like you, I'm that kind of person. Like, I can stop on the time when I need to go to bed. So I would, if I could have, like, financially, I'm talking about finances. If I could, I would take Jamila, my daughter, to gymnastics, whatever she wants, or horses or something. I would do something else more. But I managed to spend the time with her doing things that I did when I was young.
Yeah.
Like climbing trees, running in the park, playing disc, playing stuff that I used to play when I was young at the in the roads, like elastic. I don't know if you play that stuff, but
yeah, I know. I used to play with the girls when I was younger. It was like in primary school. I had my first
like
girlfriend in kindergarten.
Oh no. Myself was before that.
Yeah,
Was my neighbor. I remember. I think I was 5 years or 6 years old, and I was very happy. I have a boyfriend. Just to walk with the hands together, we were boyfriend and girlfriend. That's so sweet, right? Nowadays, we need to know how much we earn. What is the la, what is the da? Do you clean? Do you not? Then I'm like, really?
Yeah, gets a bit like that. All right, I know you have to go. Yola, it's been lovely chatting with you again. It's from my perspective that I really took that away when I look back, and I think it was what helped me have that balance was the times that I did spend with my son. And it might not have been a lot of time, but it was focused time. And for me, I think that gave me that balance as well. But yeah, thank you for a wonderful chat. As always, been lovely, and look forward to catching up again soon.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. Take care.
Thank you for being part of the Share.care community and helping people around the world prosper. You're creating a bigger pie for everyone to share. The more people contributing to the world being a better place, the better the world becomes for others and for you.
you.